Let me ask you something, and I want you to be honest. How much money did you spend last month on things you can't even remember buying? I'm not talking about your rent, your bills, your groceries. I'm talking about the other stuff. The coffee on the way to work, the streaming service you forgot you had, the late-night food delivery because you were too tired to cook, the small online purchases that seemed harmless at the time. Add it up. Go ahead. Check your bank statement right now. I'll wait. Terrifying, isn't it? For most people, we're talking hundreds of dollars, sometimes over 1,000. Money that just vanished. And the worst part? You probably can't even remember half of what you bought. But here's where it gets really dark. This isn't happening because you're careless. It's not because you're bad with money. It's not even because you lack willpower. It's happening because there's something inside your mind, something you can't see, something you can't control, that's designed to make you spend. Sigmund Freud discovered this over 100 years ago. Not about money specifically. Freud was analyzing human behavior, desire, and self-destruction. But when you apply his theories to modern spending habits, holy hell. What he found explains everything. Why you keep buying things you don't need. Why you can't stick to a budget even though you're intelligent enough to make one. Why you feel physically compelled to spend, even when you know you shouldn't. It's not weakness. It's not lack of discipline. It's your unconscious mind waging war against your bank account, and it's winning. Think about it. You're a rational person, right? You understand math. You know that $5 coffee every workday is $100 a month, and $200 a year. You know this. Your conscious mind understands it perfectly, so why do you keep buying it? Oh, it's just a coffee. It's a small pleasure. I work hard, I deserve this. There it is. That voice, that justification. Sounds so reasonable, doesn't it? But Freud would tell you something that'll make your skin crawl. That's not your voice. That's not your rational mind speaking. That's your unconscious hijacking your intelligence to defend a decision it already made. See, Freud discovered that humans don't make decisions and then justify them. We make decisions unconsciously, driven by forces we don't understand. And then our rational mind constructs a beautiful, logical explanation after the fact. You didn't decide to buy the coffee because you deserve it. You bought it because something deeper demanded it. And your intelligent brain, it just wrote the press release. But here's what's really going to mess with you. This pattern, this unconscious financial sabotage, it's not random. It follows rules, predictable rules, rules that Freud mapped out in excruciating detail. And once you understand these rules, once you see the pattern operating in your own life, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing it everywhere. Every purchase, every small expense. Every time you open your wallet, you'll see the invisible strings being pulled. But if you think a $5 coffee is the problem, oh man, that's just the surface. Because what Freud discovered goes so much deeper into the primitive, animalistic part of your brain that doesn't care about your financial goals. It just wants what it wants, right now, no matter the cost. And it's about to spend your next paycheck before you even realize what's happening. Agora faça a contagem nesse texto, grave ele também, porque vou te pedir uma futura opinião. Vou te mandar mais 5, grave todos também. Let me introduce you to the part of your brain that's draining your bank account. Freud called it the id, and it's a monster. The id doesn't think, it doesn't plan, it doesn't care about your savings goals, your retirement fund, or the fact that you've got bills due next week. The id operates on one principle and one principle only, the pleasure principle. It wants what it wants, and it wants it now. Imagine a screaming toddler in a toy store. That's your id. Except this toddler has access to your credit card, your online shopping apps, and every psychological manipulation technique that modern marketing can throw at it. And it's always screaming, I'm hungry, order food, I'm bored, buy something, I'm stressed, retail therapy, I feel empty inside, fill the void with purchases. The id doesn't do delayed gratification. It doesn't understand saving for later. The concept of waiting is literally incomprehensible to it. In Freud's framework, the id is the primitive, unconscious part of your psyche that's been with you since birth. It's pure want, pure desire, pure now. And here's the sick twist. Modern consumer culture is designed to feed it. One-click purchasing? That's not about convenience. That's about removing every barrier between your ID's impulse and the transaction. Amazon didn't patent one-click buying because they're nice. They did it because they understand that every extra step, every moment of friction, gives your rational mind a chance to intervene. Do I really need this? Can't have that. Kill the delay. Feed the id. Same-day delivery? Free returns? Buy now, pay later. These aren't just business models. They're psychological warfare against your ego, the rational part of your mind that's supposed to regulate the ID's demands. Every notification, every limited time offer, every countdown timer showing only 3 left in stock. They're all designed to trigger the ID's panic response. The fear of missing out, the urgency, the need to have it right this second. And your id, it falls for it every single time. But here's what Freud understood that most people miss. The problem isn't that the id exists. The id is part of being human. The problem is that your rational mind, your ego, is supposed to be the adult in the room, managing the id's impulses. Okay, you want that thing, I get it, but let's wait 24 hours and see if you still want it tomorrow. That's the ego doing its job. Reality testing, delayed gratification, rational decision-making. But something's gone wrong. Because if your ego was actually in control, you wouldn't have mystery charges on your credit card. You wouldn't be subscribed to services you forgot about. You wouldn't be hemorrhaging money on small purchases that add up to financial disaster. So what happened? Why is the id winning? Here's the disturbing truth. Your ego thinks it's in charge. It genuinely believes it's making rational financial decisions, but it's been compromised. The id is so good at getting what it wants that it doesn't even fight the ego anymore. It doesn't need to. Instead, it does something far more insidious. It recruits your intelligence to work for it. That $5 coffee? Your ego doesn't say, the id wants caffeine and pleasure. No. Your ego constructs a sophisticated argument. I didn't sleep well last night, so I need coffee to be productive. And making coffee at home takes time I don't have. And this coffee shop supports local business. And honestly, compared to other expenses, $5 is negligible. It's basically free. I'd be stupid not to buy it. Brilliant reasoning, airtight logic, completely convincing, and complete bullshit. Our id wanted the dopamine hit of a purchase and the pleasure of a treat. The decision was made in milliseconds, unconsciously. And then your intelligent ego spent the next 30 seconds building a mansion of justification around it. This is why smart people aren't better with money. If anything, they're worse. Because they're better at rationalizing, better at constructing arguments that make impulsive spending sound like strategic thinking. The id doesn't need to overpower your intelligence. It just needs to aim it in the right direction. And once your ego is working for the id instead of regulating it, game over. But here's what'll really disturb you. This isn't just happening with coffee. It's happening with everything. Every subscription you're not using but haven't canceled. That's the id winning. Every treat-yourself purchase after a hard day, I'd. Every time you upgrade to something you don't need, I'd. Every impulse buy disguised as a good deal, id. And your brilliant mind is coming up with reasons why each one makes perfect sense. But wait, because it gets darker. There's a whole arsenal of mental tricks, defense mechanisms, Freud called them, that your mind uses to protect these spending patterns from scrutiny. And the more intelligent you are, the more sophisticated these defenses become. Your mind is lying to you about money, right now. And it's using weapons so sophisticated you can't even see them. Freud called these weapons defense mechanisms, psychological tricks your ego uses to protect itself from uncomfortable truths. And when it comes to your spending, these defenses are working overtime. Let me show you how they operate. Rationalization. This is the big one, the masterpiece of self-deception. You don't just spend money, you build an intellectual framework to justify it. I'm investing in myself. Quality costs more up front but saves money long term. This will increase my productivity, which will increase my income. Experiences are more valuable than things. Beautiful, sophisticated. Sounds like something a financial advisor would say. But here's the truth Freud would point out. You came up with these explanations after you already wanted to buy it. The id made the decision. The ego just provided the paperwork. I'll prove it. Think about the last thing you rationalized buying. Now ask yourself, if someone else gave you that exact same reasoning for their purchase, would you believe them? Or would you see right through it? Yeah, exactly. But when it's your rationalization, it feels airtight. That's how the defense works. You can see everyone else's bullshit except your own. Denial. Oh, this one's insidious. It's only $4.99. It's just this once. I barely spend anything compared to other people. Denial isn't about lying. It's about refusing to see the full picture. You focus on the individual transaction and ignore the pattern. One streaming service is $12. Harmless, right? But you've got Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, HBO Max, Spotify, YouTube Premium, that fitness app you used twice, the meditation app you forgot about, and 3 news subscriptions you never read. That's not $12. That's $150 a month, $1,800 a year. But your mind doesn't want to add it up, because if you see the total, you'd have to do something about it. So denial keeps each purchase isolated, separate, harmless. It's just one coffee. Yeah, today. What about yesterday, and the day before, and every workday for the past 3 years? Your mind is protecting you from reality, and it's costing you thousands. Minimization. This is denial's sneaky cousin. Everyone has subscriptions. I don't spend that much, really. Compared to what I make, it's nothing. You're not denying the spending exists. You're just making it seem smaller than it is, less important, not worth worrying about. But here's what Freud understood. Minimization is a defense against guilt. Your superego, the moral part of your psyche, knows you should be saving, knows you're being irresponsible. So your ego minimizes to quiet the guilt. It's fine. It's not that bad. Other people spend way more. And you keep spending. Displacement. This one's dark. You're stressed about something you can't control. Work, relationships, existential dread. And that stress has to go somewhere. So where does it go? Shopping. You can't fix your boss. You can't solve your relationship problems with a click. But you can buy something right now and get that little hit of dopamine, that brief feeling of control. I had a rough day. I deserve this. That's displacement. The emotional need is real. The solution is fake. But it feels good in the moment, so you keep doing it. And every time you do, you're training your brain. Feeling bad? Buy something. It becomes a compulsion, an automatic response. Freud called this conditioning. Modern psychologists call it retail therapy. Either way, it's draining your account. Projection. Here's a weird one that most people don't recognize in themselves. You see other people wasting money and you judge them for it. Look at that person buying designer clothes they can't afford. So irresponsible. Meanwhile, you're spending $300 a month on food delivery and telling yourself it's different because you're busy and it's saving time. Same behavior, different rationalization. Projection lets you see the problem clearly in others while staying completely blind to it in yourself. You project your financial irresponsibility onto someone else, which makes you feel superior and justified, and you keep spending. Now here's what makes this absolutely terrifying. The smarter you are, the better you are at deploying these defenses. A person with average intelligence might just say, yeah, I like buying stuff, whatever. But you've got a PhD-level dissertation on why your spending is actually rational, strategic, justified, and different from everyone else's wasteful behavior. You're using your intelligence as a weapon against yourself. And here's the really disturbing part that Freud discovered. These aren't just isolated mistakes. They're not random. There's a pattern underneath them, because you're not just spending money unconsciously. You're repeating the same financial mistakes over and over, even when you know better, even when you promise yourself you'll stop, even when you understand the math. Freud had a name for this. He called it the repetition compulsion, and when you understand what's really driving it, you'll realize your money problems aren't about money at all. They're about something much, much darker. Here's a question that should haunt you. Why do you keep making the same financial mistakes? I'm serious. Think about it. How many times have you sworn you'd stop overspending? How many budgets have you created and abandoned? How many times have you looked at your bank account, felt that sick feeling in your stomach, and promised yourself, this is the last time? And then you do it again, and again, and again. It's not ignorance. You know what you're doing is harmful. It's not stupidity. You understand the consequences. It's not even lack of willpower. You've succeeded at difficult things before. So why can't you stop? Freud discovered something that'll make your blood run cold. Humans have an unconscious drive to repeat painful experiences. He called it the repetition compulsion. And it's one of the darkest things he ever identified. Here's how it works. Somewhere in your past, usually childhood, you experienced a pattern. Maybe your parents fought about money. Maybe you felt neglected and learned that buying things filled the void. Maybe you were taught that spending equals love, or that debt is just normal, or that you don't deserve to have savings. That pattern got wired into your unconscious. It became your baseline, your normal. And now, as an adult, even though you consciously want financial stability, your unconscious is driven to recreate that familiar pattern. Because to your unconscious, familiar equals safe, even if familiar is painful. Let me give you an example that'll hit close to home. You grew up in a household where there was never enough money. Always stress, always tension. Watching your parents worry about bills, so you told yourself, when I grow up, I'll be different. I'll be responsible. I'll have savings. And you try, you really do. But then something weird happens. Every time you start building savings, you sabotage it. Unexpected expenses, impulse purchases, emergencies that aren't really emergencies, and you end up right back where you started, stressed about money, living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because deep in your unconscious, that's what money is supposed to feel like. Stress, scarcity, struggle. Financial stability feels foreign, uncomfortable, wrong, like wearing someone else's clothes. So your unconscious creates situations that bring you back to familiar territory, back to struggle, back to what it knows. That's repetition compulsion. You're not trying to fail. You're unconsciously trying to maintain the emotional reality you learned as a child. Or here's another pattern. Maybe you grew up watching a parent use shopping as emotional regulation. Bad day? Go shopping. Feel sad? Buy something. Need connection? Purchase gifts. You saw it modeled, over and over. And now, even though you consciously know it's destructive, when you feel emotional pain, your hand reaches for your wallet. Automatically, unconsciously. It's not a choice. It's a script you're following that was written decades ago. Freud would say you're trying to master the original trauma by repeating it. Your unconscious thinks, maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe this time shopping will actually fill the void. But it never does. So you keep trying, keep spending, keep repeating. That's the compulsion. You're stuck in a loop, acting out the same drama with different props. But here's where it gets even darker. Remember Thanatos, the death drive we talked about earlier? Freud believed there's a force within every human being that seeks destruction, not just failure. Destruction, and it manifests in your financial life as self-sabotage. You get a raise. Finally, some breathing room, right? But within weeks, somehow your expenses have increased to match. Lifestyle inflation, economists call it. Freud would call it something else. Thanatos at work. You're on the verge of paying off your debt. Freedom is right there. And then, bam, a major purchase you had to make. Back into the hole. You start investing, building wealth, making progress. And then you make a risky decision, an impulsive bet, and you lose it all. Bad luck, you say. But was it? Or was it Thanatos whispering, burn it down, you don't deserve this. Let's destroy it before someone else does. Self-sabotage disguised as bad decisions. And the truly terrifying thing, you can't see it happening. Because it doesn't feel like self-destruction. It feels like life happening to you, like circumstances beyond your control. But Freud would ask, are you sure? Or are you unconsciously creating these circumstances? How many times have you accidentally forgotten to cancel that trial subscription? How many unexpected expenses were actually predictable if you'd been honest with yourself? How many necessary purchases were just the id demanding satisfaction and Thanatos whispering that you don't deserve stability anyway? The pattern is invisible because you're inside it. You're the actor following the script, convinced you're improvising. But here's what'll really mess you up. This isn't just theory. This is observable. Measurable. Real. And I can prove it with a story that'll make you see this pattern in your own life so clearly, you won't be able to deny it anymore. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah's a software engineer, smart, makes 6 figures, has a master's degree, the kind of person who can solve complex problems, manage projects, lead teams. By every measure, she should be financially secure, but she's not. Sarah came to her therapist, not for financial advice, but because she was having panic attacks, couldn't sleep, constant anxiety. And when they started digging into what was causing the anxiety, it all came back to one thing: money. Despite making over $120,000 a year, Sarah had $40,000 in credit card debt. No savings, living paycheck to paycheck. "I don't understand," she told her therapist. "I'm not stupid, I know how math works, but I can't stop spending." So they started exploring. And what they found was textbook Freud, Sarah's childhood. Her mother was a compulsive shopper, bought things to cope with an unhappy marriage. The house was always full of stuff, unopened packages, shopping bags, things they didn't need. Young Sarah watched her father explode in rage about the credit card bills, watched her mother cry and promised to stop, and then watched her do it again the next week. Money meant conflict, tension, pain. Now, consciously, adult Sarah wanted nothing to do with that pattern. She promised herself she'd be different, responsible, smart with money. But here's what was happening unconsciously. Every time Sarah got paid, her ED would activate. The familiar pull. Buy something. You deserve it. You work hard. And she'd start shopping. Not big things, small things. A new skincare product. Takeout instead of cooking. An online course she'd never complete. Clothes she'd wear once. Each purchase under $50. Totally reasonable. But here's the twist. Sarah wasn't shopping because she wanted the stuff. She was shopping because on an unconscious level, the act of shopping felt like home. It felt like her mother. It was familiar. And the debt, the anxiety, the financial chaos, that felt like home too. Her unconscious was recreating the exact financial dynamic she grew up with. The compulsive spending, the mounting debt, the shame and panic. Repetition, compulsion, and action. But wait, it gets darker. The therapist asked Sarah, "When do you spend the most?" Sarah thought about it. "After I check my savings account." That's weird, right? You'd think checking your savings, seeing progress, would reduce spending. But for Sarah, it triggered it. Why? Because every time her savings hit a certain number, her superego would activate. "You don't deserve this. Remember where you came from. Remember your mother. You're just like her. You're going to mess this up." And then Thanatos would whisper, "You know what? Let's prove it right. Let's burn it down." And she'd go on a spending spree. Self-sabotage as prophecy fulfillment. If you believe you're destined to fail with money, your unconscious will make sure you do. Now here's the part that'll make you uncomfortable. Sarah isn't special. She's not an extreme case. She's normal. This pattern, unconsciously recreating childhood financial dynamics, using spending as emotional regulation, self-sabotaging when things get too good, it's everywhere. How many people do you know who make good money but are somehow always broke? How many people get a windfall, tax return, bonus, inheritance, and it's gone within weeks? How many people understand budgeting intellectually but can't stick to one emotionally? They're all Sarah. You might be Sarah. Because here's what Freud understood. Your relationship with money isn't about money. It's about your relationship with your parents, with safety, with self-worth, with control. Every purchase is loaded with unconscious meaning. That expensive dinner, you're not buying food. You're buying the feeling of being taken care of, something you didn't get enough of as a child. That designer item, you're not buying a product. You're buying proof that you're worthy, successful, enough, because deep down, you don't believe you are. That impulsive online shopping at 2 a.m., you're not buying stuff. You're trying to fill a void that has nothing to do with material goods and your intelligent mind. It's just the PR department writing press releases that make it all sound reasonable. I'm treating myself. I work hard for my money. Life's too short not to enjoy it. Meanwhile, your unconscious is running the same script it learned 30 years ago, and it's costing you everything. Sarah's story ended with her in thousands of dollars of debt, having panic attacks, unable to sleep, despite being smart enough to know better. And if you're honest with yourself, you probably see pieces of Sarah in your own life. The question is, what do you do about it? Because knowing the problem isn't enough. Your unconscious doesn't care that you've identified the pattern. It's been running this program for decades. It's not going to stop just because you had an epiphany watching a YouTube video. So what's the solution? How do you actually break the cycle? Freud had an answer, and it's not what you think. All right, here's the moment of truth. You've seen the pattern. You understand how your unconscious hijacks your spending. You recognize the defense mechanisms, the repetition compulsion, maybe even pieces of your own childhood playing out in your bank account. So now what? Here's what won't work. Willpower. You can't just try harder to stop spending. You can't logic your way out of an unconscious pattern. Your rational mind isn't the problem. Remember, it's been compromised. It's working for the id, not against it. So Freud's solution isn't about discipline. It's about something much more fundamental. Make the unconscious conscious. I know. Sounds simple. It's not. But here's how you actually do it with money. Step 1. Track everything. And I mean everything. Every coffee, every app, it's just $5. Not to judge yourself, not to feel guilty, but to see the pattern. Because right now your spending is invisible to your conscious mind. It's happening in the dark, driven by unconscious forces. When you track it, when you write it down, when you see the numbers, you're shining light into the darkness. You're making the unconscious visible. And here's what'll happen. You'll start seeing the triggers. I always order food when I'm stressed about work. I shop online when I feel lonely. I spend more after talking to my parents. Those aren't random. Those are the script. That's the pattern revealing itself. Step 2. Pause before purchasing. Freud talked about the space between impulse and action. That's where your ego lives. That's where choice happens. The id wants it now. But if you can create even a 24-hour delay, you give your ego a fighting chance. Here's the rule. Nothing over $50 gets purchased same day. You want it? Great. Put it in your cart. Come back tomorrow. 90% of the time, you won't want it anymore. Because it wasn't about the thing. It was about the dopamine hit. And that fades. You're not denying yourself. You're just giving your conscious mind time to catch up with your unconscious. Step 3. Ask the Freudian question. Every time you're about to spend, ask yourself, what am I really buying? Not the surface answer, the deep one. You're buying that new gadget. But what emotion are you trying to create or avoid? You're ordering delivery again. But what need are you trying to meet that has nothing to do with food? You're shopping online at midnight. But what are you actually searching for? Most of the time, it's not about the purchase. It's about comfort, control, worth, connection, emotional needs that money can't actually satisfy. When you identify the real need, you can address it directly instead of trying to buy your way out of it. Step 4. Rewrite the script. Remember, you're repeating patterns from childhood, but you're not a child anymore. If your pattern is money equals stress, you need to consciously create new associations. Start small. Every time you don't make an impulse purchase, notice the feeling. Sit with it. This is what financial control feels like. This is what self-respect feels like. You're literally rewiring your unconscious by creating new emotional memories around money. It's slow. It's uncomfortable. Your unconscious will fight it because unfamiliar feels dangerous. But this is the work. This is how you break the cycle. Step 5. Get outside perspective. Here's the brutal truth. You can't see your own blind spots. That's why they're blind spots. You need someone, a therapist, a financial counselor, even a brutally honest friend, who can point out the patterns you're defending against seeing. Sarah needed a therapist to help her see that she was unconsciously recreating her mother's spending habits. She couldn't see it herself because her defense mechanisms were too sophisticated. You're the same. Your intelligence is protecting the pattern, not exposing it. You need someone who's not invested in your rationalizations to call bullshit when you're lying to yourself. Look, here's the final truth. Your financial problems aren't really about money. They're about your unconscious mind running scripts written decades ago. And until you make those scripts conscious, until you see them clearly, understand where they came from, and actively choose to rewrite them, nothing changes. You can read every finance book, watch every budgeting video, download every app. But if your unconscious wants to sabotage you, it will find a way. The question is, are you ready to do the real work, the uncomfortable work? The work of looking at your own patterns without judgment and saying, this is what I'm doing, this is why, and I'm going to change it? Because that's the only thing that actually works. Not hacks, not tips, not discipline. Consciousness, awareness, honest self-examination. That's the Freudian solution, and it starts today, right now. Go check your bank statement. Actually look at it, all of it. See the pattern, name it, understand it, and then make a different choice. Not because you're being good, not because you should, but because you're choosing consciousness over compulsion, freedom over repetition, your actual goals over your unconscious script. That's how you win. If this video just exposed something in your financial life you've been blind to, if it made you see your spending in a completely different light, if it showed you the invisible puppet strings controlling your wallet, subscribe to this channel, because we don't do surface-level advice here. We go deep, into the psychology, into the unconscious patterns, into the uncomfortable truths about why you do what you do. Your money problems? They're just symptoms. The real problem is underneath, and the only way out is through awareness. Check your statement, find the pattern, break the cycle. I'll see you in the next one.